Hi, I'm Christy LeClaire, and I've been a surrogate several times. I've had 4 journeys, and out of those 4 journeys, I was able to successfully have 2 babies. So I have 5 of my own children and 1 son-in-law, and my kids range from 21 down to 10 years old. So there were several factors that contributed into me becoming a surrogate. So one of them was a good friend of mine. Her friend was a surrogate and she lived in the United States. So that's where I first kind of learned about surrogacy as a person that I knew. And at that time, I didn't know if it was a thing in Canada. Surrogacy was a thing in Canada. And at that point, I was just really interested to hear her story and to kind of see where her journey went. I followed her journey, and it was really a very cool thing. And at that time, I was still having my own family, so it didn't even cross my mind to become a surrogate at that point. But several years later, when we finished having our own family, I knew our own family was complete. But I loved being pregnant and giving birth. And that's when surrogacy came across my mind again. And I started researching it to see if surrogacy happened in Canada. And I Googled it, actually, and Leah's name came up, the owner of CFC. And so I went to her website, learned all about it. So apparently it was a thing in Canada. And then I immediately spoke to my husband about it, and we went from there. So because I had 5 children, I had a very variety of stories, birth stories for myself personally. Like care providers, I've had family doctors, I've had OBGYN, I've had midwives, I had hospital births, I had a home birth, I had inductions, I had a natural birth. So because I had so many different stories on how my own children were born, I was really open at that point when I was talking to my intended parents to see where their comfort level was or what they had envisioned for birth. So that's kind of how we decided on where to give birth. Obviously, bottom line, because I was the one giving birth, for me, it was I got to make the final decision. But in that decision, I really supported my intended parents and really weighed their opinion heavily on my decision. My first successful journey where I successfully had a baby, for me, that was that whole process was something, an experience that I'd never had before, obviously, and being able to have a baby for someone, it was the most amazing thing in the world. But for me, more importantly, surrogacy has taught me a lot about my own self, and being involved with CFC gave me the opportunity to join in with other people across Canada that were also surrogates, and we formed a real bond, and I still maintain those friendships, and it's been, I think, 8 or 9 years, so it's been quite a while. And it's always really fun for me to get together with surrogates in the area and doing the surrogacy retreats. And I really feel spoiled as a surrogate to be able to have those opportunities provided for us. But yeah, it really, it's referred to as a sisterhood, and really that's truly what it feels like to me. So yes, going through the process of having a baby for someone was amazing, but more so having those friendships and the sisterhood has been really important to me in my life. Yeah, so that was something that I considered, and I think that was why it didn't cross my mind to become a surrogate while I was still having my own children, because I felt like I was still having my own babies, and I always thought, like, if that was something I was going to do, I wanted to wait till I had my own babies, finished having my own babies. So how did I do it? I just kind of integrated it in my life, just like it was one of my own babies, in the same way that I was pregnant. So being pregnant was kind of part of my normal life for the past 10 years at that point. So it didn't really change my life in any way as far as how I lived my life with my family and my own kids. And actually the thing that's, I think the most positive thing that came out of me having the surrogacy pregnancy when my own kids were small was they actually developed a sense of compassion for others that were going through hard times in their own journeys of intended parents of being able to create their own family. And we also were able to learn how there's different types of families and different compositions of families, and they look different than our own, but it was still very special to have these different kinds of families in our lives. And so, you know, my children seeing the gift that I was giving to the intended parents actually created more compassion in them. And so also along with that, being able to, when I did talk to my children about the decision to become a surrogate, I just explained it and said that this family wants to be a family, but they're not able to create a family. And my kids they basically said, well, of course you should do that. Like, why wouldn't you do it? Kind of. So, yeah. But yeah, just the impacts it had on my own family were so positive. It didn't disrupt my family, but it added to my family. The idea of me being exploited, actually that makes my heart sad to hear that, because for myself, it was 100% my choice every step of the way in my journey, from learning about surrogacy to talking to my husband and my family, and making decisions based on who my intended parents were, picking intended parents, getting pregnant, how I carried out my prenatal care with my midwife, the support of my friends and family, the support of the hospital when it was time to give birth. All of these people and all of these experiences all were choice along the way. At no time did I ever feel exploited. And every step of the way, I felt like if something's not right, I could say no. And so I think for me, that's one great thing about having an agency as a surrogate, because CFC was there to guide me through the whole process. I felt like I had a safety net. No matter what, someone had my back, and they were able to walk me through the journeys and explain every step of the way, and give me the options that I had to be able to make my own choices. So in fact, it felt the opposite of exploitation. It felt like I was actually in control and had this amazing support by all these different wonderful people. And so for me, that is what makes an experience empowering instead of exploitative. Because when you have a choice, that's what gives you your own personal power. You're not alone in the process. When you have other surrogates that come around you, and as I mentioned earlier, the sisterhood, the camaraderie that you develop with other people that are surrogates, it's such a unique experience that most people probably wouldn't fully understand what you're going through unless it's someone else that's done surrogacy or is in the journey of surrogacy as well. So as far as the idea around approaching birth and the choices that you have, it is different than your own baby, because with your own baby, you do get to make all the choices yourself. Whereas with intended parents, you're considering what they're thinking and feeling as well. So it's more of a group discussion, group choice, and how things play out ultimately does rest on you and your decisions. But it's something that was, when I was first pregnant with my first surrogate baby, I wasn't sure how I would feel during the birth process because it wasn't my own baby. And I had 5 successful vaginal births with my own children, and I didn't know how it was going to play out. But I did trust my care providers. I trusted the intended parents. I trusted my friends and family, the other surrogates that I had as friends. CFC, of course, was always there for me every step of the way. So making big decisions didn't feel too overwhelming. And being supported that way with extra support only added to the birth experience. So it wasn't a time of like unknown or what if this happens or what if that happens. I felt really secure in the idea of having all of these people around me supporting me and walking me through this birth. And once that baby was born, just seeing the joy in the dad's eyes and knowing that I had made the right decision to be able to, give them the gift of a family. Yeah.